The best part of going to my wife's company party was the chance to drive my Challenger. The worst part was that the faster I drove, the quicker we arrived. The party was held at the company cabin, and there was a 30-kilometer stretch of straight road leading there, no stop signs, no traffic lights, no traffic jams, just an open road begging for the Challenger to do its thing. It also meant no gas stations or stores along the way. Donna and I had been growing distant since our daughters got married. I had hoped for the opposite, but it wasn't meant to be. Donna insisted I come to this event, even though I made it clear I didn't want to go. Usually, she attended these things alone. Donna enjoyed drinking and socializing, while I didn't. Over the past year, I suspected she was having an affair. By that point, I didn't really care. I think that was one of the reasons we had been drifting apart. I was just waiting for the right time, searching for a way to end this uncomfortable relationship, to end our marriage. I'll admit, I might be part of the reason my wife started looking for greener pastures. You could say I'm a bit of an eccentric minimalist. I grew up in a poor family. My siblings and I had much less than most kids our age, no bikes, toys, pets, modern gadgets, or anything like that. It was almost like being Amish without the religion. I wasn't ignorant, I understood how the world worked, but I couldn't bring myself to fully embrace it. I knew the importance of staying debt-free, paying bills, and saving for retirement. Living a modest, minimalist life didn't mean being a fanatic. Allowing yourself some indulgences occasionally could make you seem more normal to most people. So, what was my greatest indulgence? My marriage and my family. It was really hard for me to find a woman who could tolerate my quirks and accept my uniqueness. Donna came from a similar background and was used to a modest life. She didn't embrace it the way I did, but she could tolerate it. The longer we were married, the more she seemed to adapt, though not in a way I liked. She became less frugal and more conventional. I didn't like it, but I understood, especially after the girls were born. To avoid looking too strange, we bought a small, practical house and started dressing a little nicer. Donna occasionally got her hair done and became skilled at taking care of herself and applying makeup. We even bought 2 smartphones, last year's models. When the girls grew up, Donna started working a minimum wage job. She needed transportation, so we bought her a small Honda, like mine. Her salary barely covered the car expenses, lunches, and her new wardrobe. It wasn't much, but I was okay with it. My name is William Smith, the most common name a person could have. I work as an operator at a local company that manufactures industrial compressors. The job is repetitive, but I like it. The position and the pay suit me. Occasionally, I was offered promotions, but I always turned them down. I never told Donna. My second indulgence was something I kept hidden from my wife. I believed it was wise to save for retirement, so whenever I had the chance, I bought 1-ounce gold coins. I had over 30 of them in a safe in the basement and was just getting started. My final indulgence was the 70 Challenger. My older brother John died while working on an offshore oil rig and left the Challenger to me in his will. I could afford to maintain it myself, but the insurance premiums were brutal. Donna did well at Hilbert, receiving regular raises and promotions during her first year. She used to talk a lot about her job, but that gradually decreased. Now, she rarely mentioned anything about work or her colleagues. I knew something was wrong but couldn't pinpoint it. I hoped to get a better sense of things that night. The company event was more like a retreat, a weekend affair. I didn't feel comfortable going. I had met all her colleagues at some point and didn't like any of them. We exited the federal highway at Owl Brook, and I finally had the chance to let the Challenger stretch its legs. It responded exactly as I expected. Donna was uncomfortable with the speed but stayed silent. Yes, I was definitely exceeding the speed limit, but I didn't care. "Bill, what's the rush? We have plenty of time to get there. Why don't you slow down a bit?" "I'm not in a rush to get there, as you very well know. I didn't want to come at all. I'm just using this time to give the engine a good run. The car needs to stretch its legs now and then. Please don't ruin my mood. This weekend is important for my career, she said. Mrs. Senon said it would be important for you to be here, too. Why? I asked. What do you mean it's important for me to attend this corporate event? It's necessary for you to fully understand my new role at the company so you can give me the support I need to succeed. I still don't get it. I'm sure Mrs. Senon will explain it when we arrive. You've always supported me in the past. Why is this any different? In my new role, there are many unique responsibilities. Marge said they should be introduced to you gradually so you can fully grasp them. It might be difficult for you to understand at first, but she assured me you'd be excited. By the time we arrived at the cabin, my adrenaline was through the roof. It didn't take a genius to figure out what Donna was hinting at. The weekend promised to be interesting. When we arrived, Donna went into the cabin, leaving me to carry the luggage. I couldn't help but feel like I'd been put in my place. Hey, nice car, Mr. Smith. Is that a 70 or a 71? That was Toby Wallace, a young employee of the company. Hey, Toby. How are you? It's a 70. Toby introduced me to his wife, Bonnie. They were sitting on the front porch while it seemed everyone else was inside. I glanced around the parking lot and counted about 16 cars and one old, beat-up truck at the far end. We spent the next 5 minutes chatting about the Challenger. What are you doing out here? Why aren't you and Bonnie inside with everyone else? We don't really fit in, Mr. Smith. We were hoping to leave earlier, but Mrs. Senon insisted we stay. We were up early today helping with the setup. All the catering staff left about an hour ago. You'll have to explain what's going on. Something feels off, but I can't put my finger on it. I don't want to upset you, but I think it might have something to do with your wife. Are you staying the whole weekend? No, that's why I parked my truck near the road. I didn't want to deal with leaving later. With every passing minute, things got more intriguing. Well, I'd better take these to our room. Let me know before you head out. Of course, Mr. Smith. Be careful, don't do anything rash. Thankfully, it was only 2 small suitcases. When I walked into the cabin, Mrs. Senon caught my attention, smiling and waving. Donna was waiting for me upstairs, looking a bit irritated. What took you so long to come in, Bill? We have a few hours to get ready for the evening, freshen up, and put on something nice. It's going to be a special night, and I want everything to be perfect. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a quick walk around the property to clear my head. I'll be back shortly. I noticed a slight smile on her face as I left the room. The cool air made my walk more pleasant. As I had estimated earlier, there were indeed 16 cars in the lot, mostly Mercedes, a couple of Jaguars, and a few Lexus models. 4 of the cars had out-of-state plates. I couldn't help but feel puzzled, trying to figure out how someone in my wife's position could mingle with people of this caliber. She, or rather, we, were definitely out of our league. Something didn't sit right that I noticed Toby and Bonnie loading their bags into the truck. I waved and walked over for a quick chat. I see Mrs. Senon decided to let you leave. Not exactly. We're sneaking out, Toby said. I feel really out of place here, Mr. Smith. Toby thought we should stay, but I convinced him otherwise, Bonnie added quickly. Could you do me a small favor and stay until after tonight's reception? I feel a bit uncomfortable, and I'd appreciate it. I have no idea what's going on, but I don't like it either. Great minds think alike, don't they? Bonnie said with a slight smile at my attempt at humor. I think we can manage that. I had the feeling I was going to like Toby. Later, I dressed as Donna had insisted, getting ready for the buffet dinner. Our hostess, Mrs. Senon, pulled me aside into a quiet corner. We're so glad you decided to come tonight to support Donna. This is a big step in her career, and it's important that she has your full support. The pay raise and benefits are quite significant. I'm sure you'll be pleased. Pardon me for asking, but what exactly are we talking about here? Donna has been a bit vague every time I've asked her about this. She keeps telling me to wait until tonight. There's nothing to worry about, William. I think she just wants to surprise you. You still didn't answer my question. There isn't an official title. I guess you could say she's now a personal assistant. I see. Well, the buffet looks great. Thanks for the explanation, Mrs. Sampson. Marge. Please, call me Marge. I spent the next hour sampling everything on the tables. Donna was busy socializing with the important people, so Toby, Bonnie, and I got to spend a bit more time together. As we were finishing, Mrs. Senon approached us. William, Donna mentioned you brought your little sports car tonight. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor while we have a few drinks. I smiled and nodded. There are 3 cases of wine at the store in OL Brook. They're already paid for, so all you need to do is pick them up. There shouldn't be any issues, but if something comes up, just call me, I'll be happy to help. Marge, I'll let Donna know and head out. As she walked away, I looked at Toby. Meet me outside in 5 minutes. Donna just smiled when I told her Mrs. Senon had asked for my help. Her only comment was, "Don't forget your phone." It was funny how both women seemed concerned about the same thing. Toby, I need a favor. He smiled when I tossed him the Challenger's keys. Are you serious? Take it to OL Brook and pick up the 3 cases of wine for Mrs. Sampson. I have a feeling there might be some kind of delay, if you catch my drift. Toby grinned and nodded. Here's my phone. Just leave it on the dashboard. If it rings, don't answer it. Don't turn it off either. Any questions? How long do you want us to be gone? At least 2 hours. Fill the gas tank before coming back to the cabin. Enjoy yourselves. It was chilly outside, but thankfully, I had the foresight to wear a comfortable jacket. Now, all I had to do was wait and observe. From various spots on the back porch, I could see most of the cabin's interior. A thermos of coffee would have been nice, but I hadn't planned that far ahead. I found a comfortable spot where I could watch without being seen. Donna seemed to be the center of attention. I still didn't know why, but I had a pretty good idea. She was smiling, laughing, and socializing like a movie star. About 20 minutes later, Mrs. Senon and Donna looked at Donna's phone. I knew exactly what they were doing, checking my location. Thanks to Toby, I was already near OL Brook. Both women smiled as Mrs. Sampson raised her hand and began to speak. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear what was being said, but everyone in the room seemed to approve. Robertson Sampson walked over to Donna, took her hand, and both started ascending the main staircase. They paused halfway, and he raised both hands in a triumphant gesture as if giving a victory salute. The room murmured with approval as they continued up the stairs. I still had about an hour and a half before the Challenger returned, so I decided to take my time and keep myself entertained. I always carried my trusty pocket knife, a gift I'd received from my daughters 10 years ago. It was made of good steel and had a sharp edge. I surveyed my target area and decided to start with the cars closest to the cabin. There was no rush. Carefully, I removed each valve cap and put it into my jacket pocket, ensuring I didn't lose any or leave a mess behind. 16 cars, 64 valve caps, still an hour left. What else could I do? The cars were all locked, but the registration receipts inside weren't. I started again with the car nearest to the cabin, retrieving registration documents. Some were tucked into sun visors, but most were in glove compartments. I didn't know what I would do with them, but I figured they might come in handy someday. With half an hour still to kill, I turned my attention to the spare tires. Valve caps on those tires needed to be removed as well. Since I had access to the cars, I also had access to their trunks. 20 minutes later, I had 10 more valve caps. 2 cars didn't have spare tires. I knew this was trivial and childish, but it gave me a small sense of satisfaction. I'm not a fan of confrontation, so everything I did was stealthy and discreet. I didn't have any issues with my self-esteem, so I didn't feel the need to act tough or heroic. I left the alpha male roles to others. 20 minutes later, the challenger returned. Toby and Bonnie seemed to have enjoyed the ride. They confirmed there had been a delay at the store, just as I had expected, and it appeared to have been planned in advance. While they were gone, I hadn't received any calls on my phone. I turned it off and removed the SIM card. Toby and Bonnie were eager to get home. I thanked Toby, wished him the best, and strongly advised him to find another job as soon as possible. I'm sure the cases of wine were expensive, but the issue was easily resolved. I simply placed all 3 boxes on the cabin's porch. I definitely didn't want to be accused of stealing anything. The drive home was relaxing. There wasn't much left at the house that mattered to me, just a few personal documents, my laptop, and my gold coins. I had initially planned to set the house on fire before leaving, but that would have made Donna look like a martyr, and I didn't want that. I hit the road for 2 hours. By Monday morning, I called work to let them know I wouldn't be coming back. I asked them to send my final paycheck to my parents' house in Carla. They weren't happy I'd quit without notice, but I apologized without offering an explanation. You can always count on a good breakfast at a roadside diner. I picked up a local classified newspaper and found an interesting ad for a night shift position at a nearby supermarket. They were looking for someone to restock shelves from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. After breakfast, I stopped by the supermarket. It was in an eclectic neighborhood in Chattanooga. I spent the next hour driving around the area. There were plenty of old craftsman cottages and some mobile homes nearby. I could have been content in a small trailer, but I was hoping for something a bit better. Then I came across a sign advertising a garage apartment for rent. I wasn't interested in the supermarket job yet, but I didn't want to miss out on the apartment. The garage wasn't included in the rent, but when I offered to pay $50 extra a month, they agreed. It was a small 1-bedroom apartment with 1.5 bathrooms. There were some basic furnishings, a bed, a dresser, a table, and chairs. The rent was reasonable, and the location was convenient, so I took it. I figured I'd deal with the extra bathroom problem later. At least the challenger had a home. The situation at the supermarket was a bit different. They had plenty of applicants but weren't comfortable leaving someone alone in the store at night. I explained my situation to the owner and didn't hold back. The decision to hire me was made when I offered to work behind closed doors, without benefits, and for $1 less than they planned to pay. They didn't even ask for my social security number. I was happy, and so were they. The apartment was only a 10-minute walk from the supermarket. I spent the next few days settling into my new place. The landlord gave me the Wi-Fi access code, which I thought was a nice touch. After a quick trip to the mall, I bought some kitchen utensils and a small microwave. I also purchased bedding and cleaning supplies. That night, I canceled my life insurance policies. I decided not to bother with bank accounts or credit cards. What harm could it do her anyway? Both our daughters were married now, which made my departure a bit easier. There weren't any grandchildren yet, but I was sure that wouldn't be the case for long. I called my daughter Laura to let her know I was okay and asked her to be ready to help her mother if needed. Laura knew I had left, but Donna hadn't given her any details. She promised to let her sister Linda know. I deleted all calls from my wife and turned off my phone again. I needed a shower. Not everything was perfect. I needed to find a secure place for my gold. While what I had might not seem significant to most people, it meant a lot to me. For some reason, I ended up getting a safety deposit box in Huntsville, Alabama. I hoped it wouldn't be traceable back to me in Chattanooga. Of course, I was completely wrong, but at least I felt like I had tried. It was almost a 2-hour drive, but I didn't mind. The garage door at the apartment was pretty secure, but I installed a new latch and a heavy-duty padlock just to be sure. I needed to protect my car. It didn't take me long to adjust to my new job. During the first 3 nights, I worked with another guy, but after that, I was left on my own. I didn't have to deal with anything in the grocery or meat departments. The biggest challenge was the frozen food section. After the first 2 weeks, I had everything under control. For a $20 upfront fee and $10 a month, I got a gym membership, which solved my shower problem. The downside was that they required a credit card number. This led to another trip to Huntsville to open a new bank account and get a credit card. I was beginning to realize how hard it was to completely disconnect from the system. Some adjustments were necessary. I had no idea how far Donna might go to try and find me, or if she would even try. I figured I'd deal with that problem if it ever came up. Before long, I fell into a routine. I started work at 10 p.m. and finished at 6 a.m. It was a 20-minute drive or a 30-minute walk to the gym. Initially, I joined mainly for the showers, but over time, I began using the equipment as well. By the end of the first month, I was working out at the gym for almost 2 hours every day. I felt better and even lost some weight. I never considered myself overweight, but I had been a bit out of shape. It was nice to be back in a routine. I felt comfortable in my new job and enjoyed it. It was repetitive yet somehow different, hard to explain, but you probably understand. I did my work and was left alone. The gym was also a good choice. In no time, I figured out which exercises I liked and which ones to avoid. I found that I didn't enjoy heavy lifting. Since I jogged to the gym every day, I wasn't interested in treadmills. I started each day with a circuit workout that took about 30 minutes, followed by 20 minutes on the rowing machine, 20 minutes on the stair climber, and finished with 20 minutes on the stationary bike. I never got around to buying a TV, but I did purchase a used desktop computer with a decent-sized monitor. My daily entertainment mostly consisted of watching YouTube videos that I rarely cooked, but I noticed that my eating habits were changing slightly, though not intentionally. I realized I was leaning toward a ketogenic diet. Combined with my irregular work schedule, I also found myself doing some intermittent fasting. After 3 months, I felt better and had lost some weight. It was time to call my daughters again. This time, I called Linda. "Hi, Linda, it's Dad." "Well, it's about time. We've all been worried about you. Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine. Don't worry about me, I've always been able to take care of myself. I just wanted to check in and make sure your mom is doing okay." "Mom's fine. It seems she got a promotion at work, and she loves her job. But she's really mad at you. She said you left her during her promotion celebration and then walked out of the house like a hurt child," her words. "She says you're jealous of her success." "Well, I'm sorry, but I don't have anything to add to that until she's ready to tell you the truth. That's all I can say. She did mention that things have been a bit tight financially without your income, but with her promotion, she's managing fine." "I'm glad to hear that. Did she say anything about her new job?" "Only that she's making more money and gets to travel a lot." I didn't respond. After a brief pause, Linda continued. "Are you coming home for Christmas?" "I don't think so. I'll try to send something for you and Laura." "We don't need or want anything, Dad. We'd rather have you here." "I'm sorry about that. I have to go now. Say hi to Laura for me." I already felt a bit down. It seemed like my daughters didn't understand the situation and thought I was the cause of all the problems. I wasn't happy about that, but I didn't feel the need to explain myself. It was clear my wife felt no remorse. I found myself growing a bit bitter over what Linda had said. Donna was doing just fine without me. I didn't understand why she wanted me home. I finished my last bottle of Black and Tan and spent the weekend in a funk. My beer consumption was increasing. Weeks passed, and I discovered things were improving. I was doing well at work and received an unexpected promotion. I was given complete freedom regarding my responsibilities, and in no time, I had optimized and improved the restocking system that I submitted a weekly report they used to determine inventory levels and reorder intervals. The living conditions were ideal for my situation and well within my budget. My weight had dropped, and I was starting to build muscle. With the right lighting, I could even see the outline of a six-pack on my stomach. I stopped shaving and now had thick hair long enough to tie into a small ponytail. My whole appearance had changed, making me look a bit intimidating. My workouts at the gym were getting easier and slightly longer. An unexpected side effect was that I made a few acquaintances at the gym. They weren't really friends, just people I knew. I was cautious with the women there, as I didn't want any trouble with inappropriate behavior. With the guys, it didn't matter, we'd laugh from time to time. However, an unusual connection formed. Her name was Harry, or at least that's what everyone called her. She wasn't very friendly and rarely talked to anyone. I was the exception. She showed up every morning and worked out hard for at least 2 hours. Her training was intense, not some fancy yoga routine. Unlike the other women, who liked to flaunt their bodies in tight latex outfits, Harry didn't care about showing off. People teased me because I was the only guy she talked to or even looked at. I didn't encourage her, but I didn't reject her either. Honestly, I felt a bit flattered. Months passed, and I hadn't contacted my daughters or my wife. I simply couldn't bring myself to do it. I made a few trips to Huntsville to expand my collection of Krugerrands. Then everything began to change. "William, can I talk to you for a minute?" This wasn't Harry's usual way of starting a conversation. She called me William, while everyone else said Bill. Reflecting on it, she'd never used my name before. "Sure. Can I help you with something?" "Actually, yes." We both sat on a bench to get comfortable. "I have a corporate event on Friday night, and I need a date. I'll cover all the expenses, I just need you to come with me. I noticed you don't drive, so I'll take care of transportation if necessary. I can reimburse any costs." I hesitated, and she quickly added, "Did I say or do something wrong?" "No, not at all. It's just that, well, I have some skeletons in my closet. If you can work with that, I'd be happy to help." "That's fine. What's the issue?" "Well, for starters, I'm married." "Oh, wow. You never mentioned a wife. I suppose that's a big one." "No, not really. I just thought you should know up front. I haven't seen or spoken to my wife in over 9 months. I'm not even sure if I'm still married, she may have filed for divorce or separation by now." "What's the next issue?" "I don't have anything appropriate to wear. No suits, no jackets, no dress shirts, no formal shoes. I just don't own that stuff." "No problem. I can take care of that. That's why I'm asking with a week's notice. Work your shifts, but I think we can manage the time." "I'm glad we're working this out," she said with a smile. "Anything else?" "Shave. I like your beard and hair, but honestly, you're a bit unkempt. Would you mind if my stylist took a look at you on Friday afternoon?" "A stylist?" I smiled, complaining as I nodded in agreement. That was fine. And so began my relationship with Harry, professionally known as Harriet Parker, an attorney at the time. That on Tuesday, I visited Joseph Bank, not exactly a high-end store, but certainly a step above anywhere else I'd been. Harry had arranged the visit in advance. I ended up with 2 pairs of trousers and 2 sports jackets. They added a couple of shirts and some ties to complete the look. I went the extra mile and added 2 Mandarin collared shirts to the pile. I'd always liked them and thought they'd pair well with the jackets. Harry had prepaid for everything. On the way home, I picked up a new pair of decent shoes and some underwear. I needed the latter because of my recent weight loss. The shoes were loafers, stylish yet comfortable. My visit to the stylist on Friday went well. The guy working on me was easygoing and did a great job. He left me with a neatly trimmed short beard and transformed my ponytail into a modified braid with a longer tail at the end. I wasn't sure of the exact term, but he assured me it would be much easier to maintain. I liked it that he didn't talk much about Harry but did say I was lucky. Harry arrived at the apartment right at 6 p.m. She didn't get out of the car but gave a quick honk. The Lexus looked out of place in my neighborhood that I chose a gray jacket and a gray turtleneck. I thought I looked pretty good, though I didn't have much to compare it to. I was grateful she was driving because I didn't know the city well. Harry, before we go, could you explain exactly what I'm supposed to do, or not do, tonight? The first hour will probably be spent socializing. You don't have to engage too much. Most of the people there will be pretentious snobs you won't want to deal with, avoid them if you can. The main thing is, I want you to stay close to me and keep other women away. Don't stand out, but don't let anyone push you around either. Make sure I always have a drink in my hand, sparkling water or ginger ale. Be friendly and approachable, but whatever you do, don't lose your temper. Essentially, your decoration. Make them think we're a couple. I've never thought of myself as that kind of guy. I don't have much experience with things like this. You can handle it. Of course. There'll be food about an hour in, a $500 chicken dinner. I thought about how sad that sounded. Harry leaned toward me a little. William, want to wreck this place? She tried to do a Bogart impression, but it didn't quite land that I didn't respond. I just stood up, took her hand, and we left in silence that I don't think anyone noticed when we arrived at the garage. She kicked off her shoes and tossed me the Lexus keys. Find us some real food, William. 20 minutes later, we were at Willis Country. Both of us had plates full of food and a bottle of beer. She was familiar with Tabasco sauce. We both ignored the fries, and the bibs provided were gratefully accepted. As we ate, I noticed something unusual. Her evening gown had long sleeves. Most women's dresses were short-sleeved or sleeveless. She was also still barefoot, which didn't seem to bother her at all. Things quickly returned to normal. My evening with Harry was pleasant, even though it didn't lead to any intimacy. We continued with our platonic outings. 3 weeks later, Harry had another event that required a date. Naturally, I agreed. I felt it was my duty to explain the situation to my boss, who found it amusing. He told me I didn't need to request time off, I just had to leave a note. Essentially, I was responsible for managing my own schedule. Harry's workouts at the gym were intense. Her heart rate was high, and she sweated a lot. She always wore full-length sweats and pants, unlike most women who wore sports bras and shorts. It didn't seem logical, but I wasn't about to question it. Our second night out was similar to the first, except there was no food and more alcohol. More drinks meant more guys hanging around. Every man who approached her brought a new drink. I spent most of the night collecting and disposing of unwanted glasses. One particularly persistent guy finally pushed me too far. I pulled him aside and quietly told him that if he bothered my fiancée one more time, I'd break his jaw. He disappeared for the rest of the night, along with several others. I hadn't realized how intimidating I'd become. After the event, we went for sushi but ended up ordering 4 servings of sashimi. It was another fun, platonic evening. A couple of mornings later, Harry surprised me while I was on the rowing machine. Why didn't you tell me we were engaged? I was a bit confused. Yesterday, some of my colleagues asked me about it. She didn't wait for my response but just smiled. Later, I called Laura to check in. She told me that Donna had been avoiding both her and Linda. All Laura knew was that Donna was traveling a lot and often had people staying at the house. I asked if her mother had filed for divorce, but Laura had no idea. It had been weeks since either of them had spoken to her. For some reason, this news made me angry. The more bottles of beer I emptied, the worse it got. The next morning, I picked up a flat-rate box at the post office and mailed 74 valve caps to Samson and Gilbert Company. I included a short note, "Thanks for the fun night." It had been over a year since the party, but I was pretty sure they'd remember. I skipped the gym that day. I wasn't in the mood to work out with a hangover. The following day, Harry bombarded me with questions at the gym. I promised to explain everything the next time we had dinner. She picked me up at 6. Harry took me to a steakhouse. It was my first time in a place like that, and I dressed well for her. She listened calmly and didn't judge me throughout the meal. That I got back to my apartment just in time for the start of my work shift. The next day at the gym, Harry had another question for me. I know someone who was at the cabin that night. When I told her I had the names and addresses of everyone, her eyes lit up. After our workout, she came to my place, and I handed her an envelope with 12 vehicle registration documents. She grabbed them and kissed me on the cheek. There are 15 types of lawyers, Harry said, explaining that she specialized in controversial cases. I smiled and asked how much this would cost me. She responded with another kiss on the cheek. 3 days later, my daughter Linda called. Donna had reached out, asking if Linda knew where I was. There were issues at Donna's workplace, and she was caught in the middle. She was upset and wanted to talk to me immediately. Linda refused to tell her anything. That I wondered if Donna had received those valve caps. That I called Harry and told her I'd pick her up in 20 minutes. Her office was in a high-end shopping center, nice, but not overly ostentatious. Harry had never seen the Challenger before. The subject of my car had never come up. The sound of the engine preceded my arrival, attracting some curious onlookers from her office. When she came out, I walked over to open the door for her, grinning at the gawkers. Harry laughed as she got into the car. "Good game, William. Good game. I suppose you'll want an engagement ring now?" "All in due time, no need to rush." We crossed the Tennessee River, and after that, I started letting the car stretch its legs a little. Highway 72 toward Huntsville is a decent stretch of road, though not the best for showing off. We spent about 2 hours together. "William, everyone who was at the cabin that night has been served." "What do you mean?" "With what?" "It's a lawsuit. The legal term is intentional infliction of emotional distress, contributing to the destruction of a marriage." "Is that really a thing?" "It checks all the necessary boxes. Their behavior was intentional, it was extreme, and it caused you significant emotional distress." "So that's why my wife was upset?" At that point, we each had a plate of ribs in front of us, and the conversation slowed for a bit. Harry had just finished her last rib when she looked up. "What do you mean, your wife was upset?" "My daughter Linda called me today and said Donna needed to talk to me. There's a big problem at work, and somehow, she's in the middle of it. That's all I know. Samson and Gilbert Company is facing $1 million lawsuit. The other 11 people are being sued for $100,000 each. I'm not trying to be a smart guy, but do you think this will work?" "Of course. It might not be as easy as it seems, but I think it'll get interesting." I wanted another beer but couldn't risk it because of the long drive home. Harry, however, could afford to indulge and enjoyed her drink with some satisfaction. As we left the restaurant, I felt a little excited. I asked Harry if she'd like to get a room and return the next morning. "I'd love to, but I can't." "It's not about that, let's just head back now." I didn't know why. The first 20 minutes in the car were quiet, and then she began to open up. It turns out that 8 years ago, Harry weighed almost 150 kilograms. She decided to go on a diet and start exercising instead of opting for gastric bypass surgery. She lost 70 kilograms but was left with about 10 kilograms of loose skin. It took her 5 surgeries to remove the excess skin, leaving scars all over her body. Harry, being brave and honest, admitted that she was very self-conscious about her scars. She had avoided contact with male friends because she didn't feel comfortable. Somehow, though, she felt at ease with me, though she didn't know why. I walked her to her door and gave her a light kiss on the cheek. She thanked me for dinner, and as I left, I noticed a small tear in her eye. We continued our platonic outings, and everything seemed to work well for both of us. My supermarket became quite popular among locals. In less than 2 years, they had opened 2 more stores and were scouting for new locations. The owners were serious about offering me a full-time position as inventory manager for all 3 branches. However, they insisted I become a permanent employee, which meant legalizing my residency. By this point, it didn't seem to matter anymore, so I agreed. Harry was pleased, and so was I. A few more weeks passed, and I hadn't heard from my daughters in a while. Then I received a brief text on my phone: "Mom got fired." This complicated things a bit. I now had a stable job with a decent salary, and Donna was unemployed. I feared that this might eventually lead to a divorce. Then things got worse. "William, for a change, I have good news." Harry was serious, and I gave her my full attention. 3 of the 11 people we sued have settled. What does that mean? Well, since we filed for $100,000 each, their insurance companies advised them to pay to avoid public court proceedings. It was covered by their insurance, so it wasn't a big personal loss for them. So, are you saying we might actually make money from this? William, I've already received 3 checks. Do you think this has something to do with Donna's firing? I'm almost certain it does. This is going to ruin my divorce. Have you filed the papers yet? No, not yet. I was going to ask for your help with that. Harry gave me a genuine smile. William, pack a small suitcase and get the Challenger ready. We're going to see your wife. I couldn't help but smile too. We left at 6 a.m. and checked into the Charlatan Hotel 10 hours later. The Challenger seemed happy with the journey that I called Linda and asked her to invite Donna and Laura to lunch at the Riding Motor the next day. The dinner conversation was a bit awkward. Choosing from the Red Lobster menu was amusing, and we ended up spending more than we had planned, but we didn't mind. It felt like a celebration. Our conversation was varied and somewhat confusing, as we both carefully avoided the delicate topic. That night, Harry and I spent our first night together. We had been friends without benefits for over a year, and the last thing I wanted was to make her uncomfortable. While I won't go into detail, I will say it wasn't as nerve-wracking as we had feared. We were both relieved. It wasn't as bad as she had made me believe, and I wasn't repulsed. We were 2 happy fools. In the morning, we had a late breakfast, and Donna and the girls were waiting for us at the table when we arrived. I wore one of my new sports jackets with a dark turtleneck and looked sharp. Harry wore one of her lighter business suits, casual yet professional. My wife and daughters looked stunned. Donna, Linda, and Laura, this is Harriet Parker, my confidant and trusted attorney. Harriet, this is my wife Donna and my daughters, Linda and Laura. It was awkward, but it was the best I could do. Before we could delve into any nonsense, the waiter arrived to take our drink orders. I'm not hungry. If you don't mind, I'll just have coffee, Donna said, breaking the silence. I quickly glanced around the table and reached the same conclusion. Why don't you bring 5 cups of coffee and leave the pot on the table? The waiter nodded, and everyone seemed to relax a bit with the decision. It's nice to see you again, Bill. Would you mind telling me what you've been doing lately? Donna said with a slight smile. Just working and giving you the freedom to find yourself, or whatever it is you've been doing. Harry nudged me gently under the table. You were supposed to be there for me, and you abandoned me, Donna snapped. Maybe you needed someone, but it wasn't me. Mom, Dad, stop it. I'm sure you didn't arrange this meeting just to throw punches at each other. Dad, why are we here? Linda said firmly that I could tell this was going to be a short meeting. Feeling lost, I looked at Harry for a clue on how to proceed. She ignored me but took control of the conversation. Harry pulled an envelope from her purse and slid it toward Donna. Mrs. Smith, this is a divorce settlement. I believe you'll find it very fair. I suggest you take it to your attorney for review." Both Laura and Linda looked shocked. It was easy to see they hadn't expected this. Donna, however, had a broad smile on her face. She didn't take Harry's envelope but instead pulled an identical one from her bag. "You're an idiot. I divorced your sorry ass 8 months ago for abandonment. You never received the papers because I didn't know where to send them. Whatever you have here doesn't matter, you have nothing I want." Her smile turned into a wide grin. The waiter returned with our coffee and a full pot just as Donna stood to leave. She smiled at Harry and me, gave the girls a strange look, and walked away, leaving both envelopes on the table. "Dad, can we all stay for lunch? I've heard they have great custard pie here," Laura said. Harry and I laughed and asked the waiter to bring menus. Harry, Laura, and Linda enjoyed a long lunch and great conversation. I felt like I was eating alone. I've never really understood women. The girls exchanged phone numbers and promised to stay in touch. Back at our hotel room, I began packing. "William, I thought we were staying another night." "We are. Just not here. Hurry up and pack your things." An hour and a half later, we were in Elkton, Maryland. 30 minutes after that, Harriet Parker became Harriet Smith. We spent the night in Luray, Virginia. I wanted to drive further, but we couldn't. Now, we have a house with a 3-car garage, but that's another story. The girls told me Donna was upset when she found out I had received $2 million from the Hilbert Company. Donna moved too. I don't know why.